this in as little as 4 to 6 months for less than $3 a day. Choose Smile. Get started for free at SmileDirectClub.com.
Johnny Depp is suing his ex Amber Heard for defamation. Amber wrote an op-ed that appeared in the Washington Post where she claimed to be a survivor of domestic abuse. The op-ed was published after their final divorce settlement, which upset Johnny. He says he never abused Amber and her lies ruined his career.
The studio was having difficulty employing him.
Did Mr. Bruckheimer tell you why the studio was having difficulty employing Mr. Depp? Did you ask?
I didn't need to.
Today in court, new details were revealed about why and how the op-ed was written.
There were a number of things that Amber had expressed from her personal story about her having been a survivor of gender-based violence. The drafting of the op-ed was all done within the communications department.
Tonight, all the latest from Fairfax, Virginia, as we take you inside the courtroom for Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. You know, there's been a lot of talk recently in the news about free speech, right? Involving Elon Musk, Twitter, all of that. Let me just come out right now and say, I'm all in favor of free speech. I'm a journalist. That's what we do, right? First Amendment. But I'm also a lawyer, and I know that there are some limitations to free speech in the United States of America. You can't incite a riot with direct words, right? You can't do that. And you can't commit defamation. You can't lie about someone to harm them. So when you think about Amber Heard writing this op-ed in the Washington Post, the question really is she exercising free speech, or is it going to cost her $50 million and not be free at all, right? Johnny Depp is suing Amber Heard $50 million for, I believe, what she is going to argue was her exercise of free speech, talking about, you know, what has happened in her life. That's ultimately what this whole case is about. But what's really interesting, and Amber Heard and her team brought this up in their opening statement, is that Johnny Depp is never mentioned. I mean, where's Johnny in the op-ed? His name never appears. And arguably, it seems that Amber Heard and her team will be saying, well, it's not really about Johnny Depp. I don't know if you make that argument with a straight face to the jury. Maybe they will. Maybe the jury believes it. I think it's a dangerous place to go because we all know Johnny and Amber were married. We kind of know the timeline of everything, right? The love and the marriage between these two was real at one point, and then the breakup was very real as well. They were married for some time. The jury knows all about it. They know where they met. They know about the rum diaries. They know about the dating. They know about some of the fighting, and they ultimately know about the breakup and the divorce. So I think one thing this jury is going to look at, and I believe this will be an accusation, I think we heard it from Johnny Depp on the stand, that Amber Heard was trying to be sneaky in the way she wrote this op-ed. I'm not going to put his name in it, but everybody will know what we're talking about, right? And this is another issue. Like, how does the jury take that? Do they look at Amber Heard and say, really, you're trying to pull a fast one on Johnny? You're trying to like write about him without really mentioning his name, but everybody's going to know? I mean, that again could make her look pretty bad in the eyes of the jury. And a lot of this stuff has come out during Johnny Depp's case. But then we get to the bottom line of this op-ed written by Amber Heard, and guess what? She didn't write it. She didn't even write it. It was written like by PR people. Are you kidding me? An op-ed about your life, and you didn't actually write it. What a development today. What a development inside the courtroom as this testimony gets in front of the jury. This whole thing is about Amber Heard penning, right? We always say penning the op-ed. When we learned today, I don't even know if she wrote a word of it. I mean, she told her story to some people. But take a listen to how this testimony went down and what this jury heard today about where this op-ed actually came from.
Ms. White said that she had arranged a meeting between Ms. Heard and representatives of our Women's Rights Project and our Reproductive Freedom Project. And Ms. Heard spoke with such clarity and expertise on issues of gender-based violence that she decided that she would be an appropriate person to ask to become an ACLU ambassador, and she did so.
He writes, I'd like your and Amber's thoughts on doing an op-ed in which she discusses the ways in which survivors of gender-based violence have been made less safe under the Trump administration and how people can take action. Why was the ACLU recommending that Amber write on that subject?
With Amber agreeing to be an ambassador and to work on women's rights issues and in particular issues of gender-based violence, Jerry was coming up with specific things that were of significant policy importance to the ACLU that could be the subject matter of an op-ed written by Amber. It is often a decision has to be made when we're working with ambassadors or with other people who are speaking to the public, who does the first draft of the document. So it sounds here that Jerry is saying that that from Jess's conversation with Amber, we are moving forward with some kind of an op-ed, and that ACLU communications department staff members would be writing the first draft of it.
And to be clear, this next draft of the op-ed reflects changes that Robin Schulman made after she met in person with Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
She didn't write it. The first draft was written before she even met with anyone from the ACLU. I mean, what is this? What is it? And ultimately, you know, the jury is listening to all of this and wondering, I thought we were here because she wrote something, but she didn't write what she wrote? Could be confusing. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter, joining us live from Fairfax, Virginia tonight. Chanley, wow. I was expecting that, she wrote something, maybe a first draft, and then got some help, and it's all good. But I'm getting the feeling she didn't write a word of this thing.
That's really what it sounds like. Now, there was testimony that she did share some of her personal experiences with these ACLU staffers who did conceive and draft and then placed this op-ed at this time. And there was testimony, Vinnie, that the release of this op-ed was timed to be around her Aquaman premiere for more publicity of this op-ed when it was actually released in December 2018. Also, we learned that earlier versions of this op-ed made explicit references to her relationship with Johnny Depp. So it was specific to him, and that was huge for Depp's team because, again, her defense is that it doesn't name him, it doesn't defame him, he's the demise of his own career, and she has this First Amendment right to say what she wants about matters of public concern like domestic violence. But for this jury to hear from this ACLU general counsel that earlier versions explicitly mentioned Johnny Depp and then were edited out on the advice of her lawyers, that was big.
Yeah, because then it's ultimately about him. It's clearly about him. So this whole little thing we heard in the opening statement that his name isn't even mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, seems not genuine, right? That's the problem. Technically they don't name him, but genuinely it's about him. It seems obvious. Anything else from that witness we need to know about tonight?
Well, he also spent really the bulk of his pre-recorded deposition talking about the settlement agreement that Johnny Depp and Amber Heard reached when they were divorced and how she promised to donate half of her settlement, $3.5 million, to the ACLU. So there was a lot of back and forth on exactly how much she's given over the years. It totaled $1.3 million, Vinnie, but she stopped making payments in 2018, and then once Johnny Depp filed this libel suit, completely quit making any payments, saying she had financial difficulties. So this was really to show the jury that she wasn't following through on the promise she made to give her settlement money to charity.
Okay, let's talk about Johnny Depp's bodyguard testifying today. What did the bodyguard have to say?
We heard from Malcolm Connolly, who testified via video inside the courtroom, another character with an accent where I felt sometimes I needed subtitles to understand what he was saying in the courtroom, but he received at times many laughs from this gallery as he talked about his personal observations of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's relationship. He's known Johnny Depp for around 25 years, and he mentioned several incidents before this jury that he witnessed firsthand. Amber Heard throwing a lighter at Johnny Depp, throwing a soda can at Johnny Depp, and especially the infamous finger incident. All that aftermath was testified to by Malcolm Connolly, who painted Amber Heard as the aggressor, the one yelling, and no injuries to Amber Heard after any of these alleged abuse incidents, Vinnie. But there was one moment where he actually got a couple smiles from the jury during his testimony. Let's watch.
He's not out of his head. He's perfectly functioning. I mean, you can talk about anything, any conversation you want to talk about. He's neither up nor down with that, you know. He really isn't. He's got a very high tolerance for any substance, Johnny, you know. I would say so, you know. I think Jack Sparrow's more drunk than Johnny Depp, to be honest.
And then, of course, Johnny Depp smiled as well. There was another moment where he was on cross-examination, Vinnie, and he's asked about whether or not he witnessed Johnny Depp urinating in the foyer when he went to retrieve him after he lost his finger. He denied that, and that also got a couple smiles from the jury.
And also Johnny Depp's driver, or his executive chauffeur, I think is his official title.
Right. He also told this jury about his personal observations. His purpose was more surrounding the April 21st, 2016 incident that caused the couple to separate. And it was Amber Heard's birthday celebration. Johnny Depp was several hours late to that celebration, which caused Amber Heard to be upset. She alleges abuse that night from Johnny Depp, but his testimony told the jury that he observed no injuries to Amber Heard. The next day, he drove her to Coachella, where she partied with her friends all weekend long. Let's listen to the part, though, that he says Amber Heard told him on the way to Coachella.
And did you have any discussions with Miss Heard on the way to Coachella that evening?
We had a conversation pertaining to the surprise she left in the boss's bed prior to leaving the apartment.
And when you refer to the surprise in the boss's bed, what are you referring to?
The defecation.
And what did Miss Heard say about the defecation in Mr. Depp's bed?
A horrible practical joke gone wrong.
Again, back to the defecation incident. Vinnie brought up in this testimony, the gallery laughed during that. No laughs from the jury during that moment.
Not a good day. I don't think it was a good day for Amber Heard today. I really don't, from all the stuff that I'm hearing. All right, Chanley, we'll talk again in a little bit. I'm going to bring in a special guest joining us tonight from Los Angeles, California. Clinical forensic neuropsychologist, associate professor at Pepperdine University, Dr. Judy Ho, back with us. All right, Dr. Judy Ho, let me ask you this question, and it's a very specific question. Why did she write or have someone write this op-ed? Like, why would she do this? This is causing all these problems now. Why do you think she did it? What was going through her mind?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, Vinnie, you're absolutely right. This was not a good day for her in court. And I think that Johnny's team is doing a good job of painting her as somebody who is not reliable, who shouldn't be trusted. Maybe her intentions are never pure. You can't, take her for an honest person. Even when she said that she wanted to help these charities, she, defaulted on her payments. Essentially, they're saying this is a selfish person and you should not trust what she says. Adding to that, of course, is Dr. Curry's testimony that she has these personality conditions, and certainly personality conditions can be treated, but that was not the focus of Dr. Curry's testimony. Dr. Curry's testimony was saying this is the kind of person who would go and trigger Johnny Depp into acting like his worst part of himself. So why did she write this op-ed? What is going through her head? It's possible that she was just very short-sighted at the time. She had this big movie coming out. There were people who were saying, this might be a good time to go public with your personal story. And I think that the view of her is going to be that she'll do anything for a little bit of publicity, a little bit of fame, as opposed to, I'm really doing this and coming forward with this story because I want to help other domestic violence victims. I think that argument is starting to pale in comparison to the one where maybe she's more short-sighted and caring about her celebrity instead.
So to me, for this jury, what may be very important when it comes to that motivation, is it to, and what I think I'm hearing from you is it's to help herself, not necessarily to hurt Johnny Depp, right? Because I think that's the way he's perceiving it, right? Johnny's perceiving it as, she did this to get me. What? We had a settlement. It was supposed to be over. And now she's dragging me back into all of this. He sees it as a personal attack on her. Do you think that that was her intention, or was it merely to, well, maybe I can make myself more famous or a little bit better if I'm a victim and I write this op-ed in this prestigious, Washington Post with the help of the ACLU?
I think that's probably going to be the perception that emerges of her, is that this is somebody who is more selfish in nature, and maybe on the way she's hurting Johnny, but that may not have been her primary objective. She's more thinking, look, there's something that I can do in this situation to perhaps elevate my own status, my celebrity. I think that is going to be the argument that people are going to fall on. Now, do we know exactly what she was thinking? No, but when you hear this testimony from ACLU, you're thinking, this is not even a person who wrote her own story. Sure, she told it to somebody else, but it's almost like having a ghostwriter. So how do we really feel about that when it's such a personal, deeply hurtful story when you're talking about domestic violence victims? You usually want that to be handled with the utmost of care. And I think the testimony is trying to paint her as somebody who says, this is just a throwaway story, as opposed to something that has so much significance in the lives of people who have been through domestic abuse. Let me ask you this. For these jurors, and the jurors are mostly young men. It's like I look at the jury and it's like, what? Oh, my sons are in the jury? That's what it looks like, right? So do they, with this development today, where now they know she didn't even write the op-ed that is the subject of the defamation lawsuit, do they look at her as a fraud, a phony, someone who would lie about writing this, that would lie about anything, perhaps lie about being a victim? And I think that's going to be the problem. Unfortunately, I think we do have evidence from both sides' testimonies that this is a mutual abuse, that Johnny and Amber both abused one another. But given the events of today, her credibility is going to get knocked down. And unfortunately, that's really bad for other domestic violence victims as well. But she will have but she will have an opportunity to testify. What's your take on she's sitting through all of this, and there's some tough days. There were some good days where Johnny was on cross, but some tough days for her. But then once she gets the case next week, she's going to be first up, we believe. Do you think what you're seeing in the courtroom, she's ready for that moment? She's looking forward to that moment? I don't know if she's looking forward to it, but I think she's going to have a lot of explaining to do, unfortunately, with everything that has been set up. She's going to have to explain her intention. Why did she allow the ACLU to essentially write this op-ed for her? What was her true experience as a domestic abuse victim? And what was her real intention? Why did she quit those payments? Can she be trusted? I think she's going to have to try to present herself as a trustworthy person, and the jury's going to have to believe her explanation of whatever she lays out in terms of why these things happened the way they did and why she allowed them to happen the way they did.
Dr. Judy Ho, great insight. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon again.
Thank you, Vinny.
All right, folks, when we come back, again, this op-ed did not mention Johnny Depp by name. This is a real issue for Amber Heard and her defense. Some testimony relative to all of that. We'll take a look at that and bring in our family law attorneys, really good ones who are in the battle day in and day out, their take on how all this went down when we return.
Nix.com.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard's advisors initially revised the draft to remove any reference to Ms. Heard's marriage or divorce?
I recall a number of email communications back and forth among ACLU personnel and Ms. Heard's attorneys where they were suggesting edits to the op-ed relating to matters covered in the NDA. It did not refer directly to Ms. Heard's relationship with Johnny Depp.
Okay, so the lawyers were all over this op-ed, right? Amber Heard's lawyers, because, you know, she's not supposed to, I guess, talk about the relationship. She had a settlement. She got some money. Unbelievable. But it seems after today, it was pretty obvious it was about Johnny Depp, because we heard about the whole editing process and how they like removed his name. But we know the basis for the entire op-ed now. That actually wasn't written by Amber Heard, but was written by some ACLU PR people. Amazing. Terrence Doherty also testified about how everyone kind of knew, right, that it was about Johnny Depp. Take a listen, because this is another important part of this case, important part of this testimony, and I think gets closer to the truth of what was going on here.
This is an article that was in US Today and specifically ties Amber's statements in her op-ed piece to Johnny Depp.
And when Jessica White says so much for not mentioning JD, what did she mean?
I speculate that she was saying that there were significant efforts made by Amber's attorneys to take out the references to Johnny Depp and her marriage, and yet nonetheless, people made that connection.
Yeah, sometimes 2 + 2 = 4, right? Or 2018 - 2 = 2016 when she was breaking up with Johnny Depp. Okay, let's bring in our guests. Joining me tonight in Los Angeles, California, family law litigator, TikTok lawyer, Limor Mojdahizad. You can check her out on TikTok at Lawyer Limor. Limor is Limor. And in Atlanta, Georgia, family law attorney, law professor Randy Kessler with us. Great to have you both here. Let's start. He threw out some words here, some letters. NDA, NDA. I need an explanation. Who's going to go? Who's going to go? Who wants this one?
Ladies first.
Okay. So so she's writing this op-ed, right? Her lawyers are going all through it. There's mention of the NDA. What's going on here? Why do the lawyers have to go through her op-ed?
Because Amber Heard and Johnny... Oh, they're...
Ladies first, Randy. You said it, Randy.
I was the lady. Thank you. So Johnny Depp and Amber Heard signed a non-disclosure agreement as part of their divorce settlement, meaning we are not going to talk about this relationship ever again in the public. And Amber Heard did that, or her team did that. Everyone on that email chain did that. So did she violate that NDA with this article? It seems like it.
It absolutely seems. Randy Kessler, you got an NDA, right? These are high-profile people. We want to move on with our lives. Couple questions here. Like, what is Johnny Depp supposed to do? Like, what are his lawyers telling him when he's saying, listen, she's violating the NDA of our settlement agreement? What are the options he has? We know that he sued her for defamation. Was there anything else he could have done?
Yeah, he could sue her for contempt of court or for breach of contract, a whole bunch of things, you know, but he's going for the jugular. He's going for it all. And candidly, I don't blame him if that's what he's got to do. You know, the other thing that her lawyers are advising her is not just to not violate the non-disclosure agreement, but also it's sort of, you know, this is consciousness of guilt, right? It's almost the fact that she's trying not to put his name out there means she knows she shouldn't be talking about him at all. It's just, it's a mess for her.
Yeah, because she's obviously referencing Johnny Depp. I think that's obvious to everyone today, as we heard the process of the writing of this thing, which wasn't written by her, but the whole the whole motivation for the op-ed was the relationship with Johnny Depp. So this is just a quick sidebar, but I have to do it because we're all lawyers here. I almost feel like she should sue her lawyers, Lamar. I almost feel like she's got a malpractice case against her lawyers who went through the op-ed, because now she's dragged into court. She's got to defend herself here. She could potentially lose. Should she go after her own lawyers for letting her not write, but put her name on this op-ed?
Everyone on that email chain needs to be held accountable some way, somehow. And the fact that the Washington Post is not being sued by Johnny Depp, I can't believe that either.
I think that's because it's personal, don't you, Randy? The reason, if you have the Washington Post sued here, then you've got all their lawyers getting in the way of Johnny Depp just going after and attempting to expose Amber Heard.
Well, two things. Number one, he's not interested in the Washington Post. He was married to her. He was divorced from her. He's angry at her. He's got cameras. He wants the world to know it was her. You know, the Washington Post, you know, fine. They say a lot of things people don't like. He's mad at her. So this may be the vengeance, the 2 pounds of flesh, so to speak. But as far as suing the lawyers, you know, don't be so quick to judge. You don't know what the lawyers told her. The lawyers very well could have said, you absolutely should not be doing this. And if you're going to do it, these are some restrictions and some cautions. So let's not be so quick. You know, people always think, why did the lawyer make their client do this? Why did the lawyer make their client settle? Why did the lawyer tell their client this? We tell clients a lot of things, and we can't say, Judge, well, my client wouldn't settle because she didn't take my advice. We just have to say, Your Honor, this is our position because this is what our client wants. So
yeah. Well, Randy, you know why I'm prejudiced? Because at one point in my life, I worked for a big insurance company handling attorney malpractice claims. So I've seen what some lawyers have done. But yeah, if they told her don't do it, they're clean. But if they said, hey, well, just do this and this, I think it's a problem. So that's really, doesn't this get to the heart of everything, Lamar? Is that there was the divorce settlement, the NDA, and then she does this. And she opens up a can of worms just by putting this thing out there. And that's why, you know, we kept coming back to why. That's why this whole thing got kicked up again.
Absolutely. I mean, these people were married for 15 months, and it's been how many years that they're in litigation? I mean, it's a whole big mess, and it's a defamation case, but it is playing out like a family law case. And, you know, yes, attorneys can't control their clients. They tell them one thing, they do something else. And I actually think that that is the picture of Amber Heard that they are portraying.
Absolutely. And you make a great point, Lamar. The litigation lasting longer than the marriage. Amazing. Okay, our guests are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about Aquaman. Aquaman had something to do with this as well. He came up in court today. Plus, there's a big petition that people are signing about Aquaman 2 and whether or not Amber Heard should be in it.
Ms. Heard had a co-starring role in Aquaman, correct?
I don't know whether she was a co-star, but I know that that was a film that she was in.
And didn't she tell the ACLU that she wanted the op-ed to come out just after Aquaman was released?
I do recall that there was a conversation about the optimal timing for the op-ed piece.
And as part of that conversation, Ms. Heard said in words or substance that she wanted the op-ed to come out soon after Aquaman, correct?
I believe that's correct.
That's not good. Well, that was Chief Operating Officer, General Counsel for the ACLU, Terrence Doherty, talking about how Amber Heard wanted to release her op-ed on sexual and domestic violence soon after the movie Aquaman was released. Now, Heard played the part of Princess Mera, I'm not even sure, in Aquaman, co-starring Jason Momoa. Take a look.
Can't let Orm find this.
Hey, wait!
What?
Shouldn't we have written it down first?
I memorized it. Didn't you?
Huh. Oh, yeah, totally.
What did you say?
Something, trident.
Well, now there's a petition to remove Amber Heard from the upcoming Aquaman 2 film project. The petition has a goal of reaching 3 million signatures, and currently they have over 2 million and counting. So all of this is amazing. This is some level of irony here. Let me bring back in Lamor Mojdehizad and Randy Kessler, both great family law attorneys. This was originally, we heard, a PR stunt, right? It was a PR stunt to do the op-ed. The op-ed turns into a defamation lawsuit, turns into a trial, and now all of a sudden people are signing a petition to remove her from Aquaman 2. I mean, is this like, could things be going any worse right now for Amber Heard, Randy Kessler?
That's about the worst thing that could happen, right? Just because she did it as a PR stunt doesn't necessarily mean that what she wrote wasn't true, but boy, does it look bad, smell bad, feel bad, taste bad for her to be using this, true or not, if she was abused by him, to use it as a way to get more attention for her upcoming movie. Boy, you know, the jury's just saying shame on her if they believe that.
So Lamar, you know, we always say, and we've said it a bunch of times, a he said, she said kind of case. Yes, there are other witnesses, there's videos, there's audios, et cetera. But ultimately, the most important thing will be his testimony, her testimony, and their credibility. And today, I just think her credibility took a huge shot. She didn't even write the op-ed, and then she wanted to use the op-ed in order to promote her Aquaman movie. And I know that's the way things go in Hollywood, but this now is a courtroom, and it's her credibility on the line.
Right. Well, of course, what else was she going to do to promote the movie? I think everyone hears Amber Heard and they automatically think Johnny Depp, right? I didn't even know she had a role in Aquaman until I started my series on TikTok about this case, and followers told me. And, you know, in the court of public opinion, Johnny Depp has won. And of course, we know right now he's putting on his case. I think everyone is waiting on the edge of their seat to hear what Amber Heard is going to say, because her testimony ultimately won the Sun the case in the UK. So I think everyone's just waiting to hear what she has to say.
Absolutely. She was very compelling and convinced the judge over in the UK. Randy, she's going to be the first witness for the defense when they begin their case. And, you know, Johnny Depp's close to wrapping up his case. What are those moments like? And what are those conversations like with the client? As you know, your turn is coming up and you've already heard and seen a lot inside that courtroom.
I mean, I don't want to trivialize it, but it's sort of like a coach at halftime, right? When you're losing, it's the coach's job to say, we're not out of this. You know, you still have a legitimate case. You have a legitimate claim. People can be persuaded. That's what advocacy is about. I see lawyers all the time that say, let's not even bother with a closing argument. The judge and jury already know what they're going to do. No, you're there to persuade. You're there to advocate. You're there to put your position forward. And she is a personality, and she's an actress, and she can certainly get her voice heard and her position known. She is not out of this by a long shot, and that's what lawyers have to reinforce to her, that she's got a position, she believes in it, speak her truth.
And Lamore, she's done it before. She did it in the UK, so it's not like it'll be her first time on the witness stand. You know, anytime you do something again, you become a little bit more comfortable. What do you think it's going to be like when she's on that witness stand? How do you think she's going to be? Because we've been watching every moment, every movement inside the courtroom, but on the stand now, we've got to hear her.
I think that she's going to be very serious, very sad. She'll probably cry. I think that throughout all of Johnny's testimony, even when he was making jokes, his friends were making jokes on the stand, she never laughed. And it always looks like she's biting the inside of her cheek, right? It kind of looks like she wants to cry. She doesn't know what to do, but she's been taking the case, it seems like, very seriously and not really showing a lot of emotion, right? So I think on the stand, it's going to be her moment to shine, tell her story, and just, you know, explain to the court what she perceived happened in her relationship with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure. I've never testified. I don't know if either of you have ever testified, but for her though, this is about the case, right? Obviously, there's theoretically $50 million at stake here that she could lose, or $100 million she could win potentially, depending on what this jury does or doesn't do. But it's also the way she gets perceived, Randy. That's what makes this so different for the rest of her career, because she has a very public career. It's not like she's going back to an office. She's not going back to a cubicle. No, she's going back to Hollywood after this.
Right, when she's in Aquaman, she is not swearing under oath to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, and so people have to listen to what she says. This is her authenticity, and this is what people are going to remember about her probably the rest of her life, how she comes across, how she perceived. So it's a heavy burden. As good an actor as she may be, as well-spoken as she may be, it's got to be terrifying. It's terrifying for anybody, even people that are doing nothing but telling the truth, because there could be nothing worse than telling the truth and being perceived as not telling the truth and having to live with that the rest of her life. Everybody, if they didn't know her before, they know her now.
Absolutely. And by the way, I do believe that the filming of Aquaman 2 is in the can, and I think they're working on post-production. So I think she's going to be in the movie regardless of how many people sign that petition. But again, I'm not in Hollywood. Anything can happen, I guess. Okay, I just want to get a 0 to 10 score from both of you, okay? 0 to 10 on how well things are going for Johnny Depp, not just court of public opinion, but to actually win this case, to have the jury come back and say, yes, you were defamed, Johnny Depp. Randy, I'll begin with you, 0 to 10, how well? 10 being the best.
I think it's good at about a 6. He's got to prove that she did this maliciously and trying to harm him. And so if she did it for other reasons, does that make it defamation? Does that make it worth $50 million? There's two aspects. One is, did she defame him? And then how much money is that worth? So I don't think it's at a 10. Certainly, when you're the plaintiff and you're near the end of your case, it better be well over 5. 6, maybe 7 right now, in my opinion.
Lamore?
Well, then I'll go with a 6.5, because we know it's not a 10 yet, but a 6.5, I think that's solid.
All right, I think that's valid because of how difficult it is in the United States of America to win a defamation case. And thank goodness, because we have the First Amendment. Lamore Mojdahizad, Randy Kessler, thank you so much for your insight and your valuable time. We'll see you again real soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vinnie.
When we come back, Chanley Painter will rejoin us and we'll take a look at what the cameras didn't show you inside the courtroom today.
I'm starting to think we're related.
The crowd goes wild. Johnny Depp entering the courthouse this morning. Unbelievable. I mean, the crowd's getting larger and larger. Let's bring back in Court TV legal correspondent, Chanley Painter, down in Fairfax County, Virginia, outside the courthouse. There she is. All right, Chanley, how about Amber Heard leaving today? Anything notable?
Absolutely. Well, the fact that she left first before Johnny Depp, that's the first day of this trial. She's done so, and it led to a little confusion. Let's watch.
Guys, thanks so much for all your help. No problem. Thanks for the recommendation. No problem. Oh, not our car, not our car. It's not right here. Sorry. I'm just gonna get it. That would have been interesting. Yeah. That was a good day for us.
That would have been interesting indeed if she had gotten into Johnny Depp's car. She almost made that mistake, and it's the first time I've really seen a big laugh and smile from Amber Heard this entire time. And of course, the person with her prevented her from going into Johnny Depp's vehicle there. But then you can hear the crowd, dozens and dozens, waiting on the other side of that gate, start to boo again at her, Vinnie.
Unbelievable. Johnny Depp today seemed a little more talkative outside of the courthouse.
Yeah, this morning, too, what we just heard, his arrival, when he's leaving. Of course, he pretty much greets and talks to everyone unprompted. That's just how he is. Even in the courtroom when he leaves, he makes sure the court reporter acknowledges him and says something to him, even though she's her head down and busy. So that's just the type of personality he seems to be. Today was no exception when he left the courthouse. Let's watch.
It's Alpaca Day.
So as soon as Amber Heard pulled away, this crowd, the biggest crowd we've seen so far, outside waiting for Johnny Depp, started yelling, "Johnny, Johnny, Johnny." And he finally emerges from the courthouse, and you heard them go wild. And then he says, "It's Alpaca Day." So our alpaca friends were out there along the sidewalk to bring him a smile to his face. I was able to catch up with Teddy and Truffle the other day when they were here, and their handlers are bringing them to show support for Johnny because he needs it, according to the handlers of the alpacas during this really tough time, they said, for Johnny Depp. So, and you could kind of hear in the mornings, he seems to blare Bob Marley in his car. In the afternoon, it was, of course, Creedence Clearwater Revival down on the corner when he got into his car.
A lot of old school. And what's this I'm hearing about gummy bears?
Well, in addition to it being my favorite candy, Johnny Depp had some on his counsel table today. It seems he needs a little pick-me-ups throughout the day to maintain his blood sugar, apparently. I don't know what it's for, but very noticeable. These colorful gummy bears sitting on counsel table today, and when I'm in the courtroom, I can see him. He's always munching on something, whether it's gum or mints or gummy bears, and he will share with his counsel. He actually will pass them around. He'll turn around and hand them the candy or the gum, and he shares. It's just one of those moments that's just interesting to observe when I'm inside the courtroom.
Yeah,
I wish he would share with the gallery, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it is interesting because, you know, you think, oh, it's Johnny Depp, and you know, it humanizes the whole process, and we sometimes lose sight that, oh, these are big stars, both of them rich and everything. At the end of the day, he eats gummy bears, and you know, she almost walked into the wrong car. They're human, so keeping that in mind, I think, is important as this thing continues to unveil inside the courtroom. Chanley Painter down in Fairfax County, Virginia, thank you so much. We'll speak again tomorrow. When we come back, folks, we're going to bring in our think tank. And what about this? What about the fact that Amber Heard didn't even write the op-ed? Does that help her or hurt her? We'll debate it next.
Of sell-off buildings.
In Fairfax County, Virginia, Johnny Depp on trial suing his ex Amber Heard for defamation. Amber says she is a victim of domestic abuse, and Johnny says that's a lie that has destroyed his reputation. Now he wants her to pay him $50 million.
Met with her in hopes that she would retract her lies.
Tonight, shocking new details about the op-ed Amber wrote that is the subject of Johnny's lawsuit. It turns out she didn't actually write it.
The drafting of the op-ed was all done within the communications department.
Does this fact help or hurt Amber's case? And what about the $7 million from her divorce settlement that Amber said she was going to give away to charity?
Wouldn't the correct statement to the press be that she's short $2.3 million?
As I testified earlier, that's not the kind of thing that we would ever say about a donor to the ACLU.
Plus, lots of testimony about Amber's ex, Elon Musk, who was on the witness list, but who will not testify. Tonight's 13th Juror question: why doesn't Elon Musk want to testify? Go to my Facebook page, or better yet, go to my Twitter feed and tell me what you think. Buckle your seatbelts. This hour of Closing Arguments starts right now. I'm Vinnie Politan. Great to have you with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And how about today inside the courtroom? Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Not a great day for Amber Heard. That's the way I saw it, okay? I don't tell any of my guests or anyone else what to think. I'm just telling you what I think. I think it was a bad day. And I think it was a bad day because this whole lawsuit is about Amber Heard writing this op-ed, right? Telling her story, telling her truth. And she didn't write it. She didn't write it. She did not write. I know she can write because I've watched her inside the courtroom, so I know she can write, but she didn't even write her own story. Now, I understand there are people who get ghostwriters and you talk to someone and then they sit down and they write it. That's like a book. This is an op-ed. This is like something that's important to you. And yeah, maybe you get some help editing it, right, from some professionals or from some public relations people. Say, well, maybe you could do it like, but I listened to the testimony. I don't think she wrote one word of the thing. And I find that a little offensive. I'll be honest with you. If you're going to write an op-ed that is your story, that is so personal, about an issue that is so important, how about taking the time to write it? Take the time to write, and I understand maybe you're not a great writer and you have someone edit it and fix it up for you, but how about doing a draft? But that didn't happen. That didn't happen. Based on the testimony that I heard today, I want you to hear it. If you don't believe me, this is Terrence Doherty. He's the general counsel of the ACLU, because this whole op-ed wasn't just Amber going to the Washington Post saying, I have something to say. No, it was worked through the ACLU. The ACLU actually did all the setting up and all the work, which is fine, right? I guess that's how things work. But you'll hear from general counsel outline exactly how this all went down. I was surprised. Take a listen.
Ms. White said that she had arranged a meeting between Ms. Heard and representatives of our Women's Rights Project and our Reproductive Freedom Project. And Ms. Heard spoke with such clarity and expertise on issues of gender-based violence that she decided that she would be an appropriate person to ask to become an ACLU ambassador, and she did so.
He writes, I'd like your and Amber's thoughts on doing an op-ed in which she discusses the ways in which survivors of gender-based violence have been made less safe under the Trump administration and how people can take action. Why was the ACLU recommending that Amber write on that subject?
With Amber agreeing to be an ambassador and to work on women's rights issues, and in particular issues of gender-based violence, Jerry was coming up with specific things that were of significant policy importance to the ACLU that could be the subject matter of an op-ed written by Amber. It is often a decision has to be made when we're working with ambassadors or with other people who are speaking to the public, who does the first draft of the document. So it sounds here that Jerry is saying that that from Jess's conversation with Amber, we are moving forward with some kind of an op-ed, and that ACLU communications department staff members would be writing the first draft of it.
And to be clear, this next draft of the op-ed reflects changes that Robin Schulman made after she met in person with Amber Heard. Is that correct?
Correct.
Didn't write the first draft, didn't write the second draft. Had a conversation with someone, but it's I guess it's really not her op-ed. It's her story, but she didn't write it. What does that mean? What does that mean for this jury? What does the jury take away from this, right? Do they now look at Amber Heard like you're a fraud? You know, you're pretending to write an op-ed that you didn't even write? Because credibility is everything in this case. And that's what Johnny Depp is saying, is that she's a liar, that she doesn't tell the truth. Well, would the jury hold this against her, or will the jury look at it and say, oh, well, you know, it's still her story. It's not a big deal that someone else wrote the first draft and the second draft. It was also lawyered up, this whole op-ed, because the original draft, not written by Amber Heard, was all about Johnny Depp and her marriage. But she had an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, where she wasn't allowed to talk about Johnny Depp and the marriage. So they kind of like plucked his name out of it. But the whole motivation and inspiration for this thing was about their relationship. The exact thing she's not supposed to be writing about. But then again, she really didn't write it anyway. Let me bring in the think tank. I need some help tonight. Joining us in the Bronx, New York, criminal defense attorney Renee Hill. In Atlanta, Georgia, criminal defense attorney, law professor at Emory University, and Georgia Innocence Project board member Molly Palmer. And in one of the other 5 boroughs tonight in Staten Island, New York, former prosecutor Joe Naluzzi. Great to see everyone tonight. Renee, what do you think about the fact that this defamation case about an op-ed written by Amber Heard wasn't written by Amber Heard?
I think it does not look very good for Amber to have this come out today. You know, it's a made-up version of a story that is supposed to be about her experience, her personal life, and now it doesn't seem that it is. And it does seem like she's perpetrating a fraud on this jury, on everyone else, and it goes right to the heart of her credibility as to whether or not she can be believed, because all along, she's saying this is her story. She wrote this. This is all about her and her life and her, you know, everything that happened to her and how she's been abused. And now it seems like it's just a story. It's something that, you know, an actor would put out there.
You know, Molly.
And the jurors may not like that.
Yeah, Molly, it's always about, here's my truth. I want to speak my truth. Can we get the PR department to do that, please? That's crazy.
Right, you know, and I think it's funny, Vinny, that you mentioned that she's been sitting throughout the trial and like scribbling notes. Like you said, she's a writer, but she's actually not. So yeah, Renee's right. It does seem to be a bit of an additional attack on her credibility. But let me be clear, legally, when it comes to ghostwriters, legally they have no credit, no copyrights, no royalties when they are writing on behalf of somebody else. So it does not inherently provide a legal defense for her in this trial whatsoever, none whatsoever. But you know, I agree with Renee. Does it make her seem even less credible than she has seemed? Perhaps.
Okay, Joan, let me play this for you. Now, so there's the writing of it, and then there's the timing of when do we release it, right? When do we want the public to hear this story? Take a listen to this testimony.
Ms. Heard had a co-starring role in Aquaman, correct?
I don't know whether she was a co-star, but I know that that was a film that she was in.
And didn't she tell the ACLU that she wanted the op-ed to come out just after Aquaman was released?
I do recall that there was a conversation about the optimal timing for the op-ed piece.
And as part of that conversation, Ms. Heard said in words or substance that she wanted the op-ed to come out soon after Aquaman, correct?
I believe that's correct.
Joan, not only is the PR department writing this, right? But now it's being used as a PR piece for Aquaman. Yikes.
I think that there's a number of things going on here, and I actually feel kind of bad for Amber Heard. First of all, there's a whole host of different influences. Maybe she felt bad because she hadn't given her full pledge to the ACLU and felt that she owed them something. Maybe she had a PR person or an agent sort of pushing her to promote the movie, and so being she was going to do this anyway, the timing of it was important for the movie so that she would get publicity. Remember that both she and Johnny Depp are public figures. So I think that what they're going to have to prove here is that it was with actual malice that she wrote this about Johnny Depp, instead of her just being sort of, speaking out about something she thought was relatable. You see that he in court is a very likable person. It's always scary for the other side when a jury is laughing along with one party, because they will laugh that person right to victory. He is the kind of person who shakes the hand of the court officers and who smiles and laughs with people. He's entertained by some of the tomfoolery going on with his security people. And she looks so sort of stiff and so uncomfortable in her own skin. I'm sort of hoping that she could say and could articulate what was actually going on in her perspective, because it does seem very one-sided at this point.
And you make a great point, Joan. Renee, I want you to pick up on this point and tell me your thoughts. The motivation for writing it. Okay, it's a PR thing. So if the motivation is a PR thing, then she is writing, she didn't write it, but writing this thing and doing it to make herself look better, to give herself some headlines, not to go after Johnny Depp. Does that in some sort of bizarre, twisted way help her? Would a jury say, well, you didn't mean to hurt Johnny, he did get hurt, but you didn't mean to hurt him, you were just trying to help yourself, so you win?
There's a possibility that might, go in her favor slightly. But at the same time, Amber knows how to push his buttons. She knows what gets under his skin. And so although she may have been doing this to, better her reputation and get it out there so that her movie could do better and capitalize on it in that fashion, I think that it can also be shown that she was doing it and knowing that this was going to aggravate him and get under his skin and push all the right buttons so that she could get the reaction she was looking for as well. She wanted more publicity, and she's going to get it either way.
Yeah. Speaking of publicity, Molly, what about her PR team? So I'm sure they were consulted along with the ACLU PR team about writing this thing to begin with. She's got her legal team going through it, trying to make it so it doesn't violate the NDA from her $7 million divorce settlement with Johnny Depp. Yet all these people around her giving her advice, and still she ends up sued in a defamation case, in a very public trial, with all of this playing out now. I mean, everything has backfired on her up until this point.
Right. I mean, your point and Joan's point is well taken. She did have a lot of outside influence. But listen, at the end of the day, this is not going to be published as an op-ed by Amber Heard, which was how it was published, unless she gives that final approval. And we know she did, even though we haven't necessarily heard that specific detail. There's no way they are putting this in the Washington Post unless she signs off on it. And that's that.
Yeah, so Joan, there have been other things that have happened in this trial, like Johnny's psych expert who evaluated Amber Heard and kind of diagnosed her as a borderline personality disorder, histrionic personality disorder, someone who likes the attention, can make things up, exaggerate. The jury's heard that. Now they've heard that she doesn't even write the op-ed, that it's just a big publicity stunt for Aquaman. She's got to testify, and next week she's testifying. Where does the credibility come from? Can it come from just from her testimony and the way she is on that witness stand?
I predict that she's going to be very much challenged on cross-examination by his defense team about other sort of exaggerations and histrionics that she has displayed in the past. However, if this trial was just on paper, if it wasn't being played out in the public arena, you would see that she calls the police after he leaves and then refuses to give a report, refuses to have him arrested. So it seems like—
I think her friend called, though. I'm not sure if she picked up 911. May have been a friend. It may have been a friend.
It didn't look to me as though she was trying to garner negative attention to him. It didn't look to me as though she was putting herself out there prior to their divorce and after their divorce as somebody who was really abused by him. She really got what she wanted in the divorce. She may have been prone to exaggeration, especially with how much she was going to donate and why she was going to donate this. But I don't know that she necessarily is done. I think that she might come off very sympathetic once her story is told in her own words. You know, when they do these psychological evaluations, what they do is they look to see whether somebody endorses extreme symptoms of a disease. Like say they have PTSD and they endorse something that's outlandish that even people with this genuine disease does not endorse. That's how they know this person is prone to exaggeration. And so I think that that was part of that examination. I don't know if she's going to have her own expert, her own psychological expert, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think they have a few lined up. I think they definitely have a few lined up, but she's going to testify first. At least that's what we understand. When we come back, we're going to talk about what Joan started to talk about, which was the settlement, these donations that were supposed to go to the ACLU and another charity. What's the status of all of that? Did she follow through? Did she show them the money like she said she was going to show them the money? When we return, we'll show you what happened in court.
when there was a divorce settlement, you got $7 million. People were saying this is all about the money, but then you did something that twisted that whole argument. What did you do with that money?
$7 million in total was donated to, I split it between the ACLU and Children's Hospital of Los Angeles.
She's speaking in the past tense there, was donated. Not exactly. Not exactly. And maybe she didn't get all the money up front, or I intend to give it to them, but it didn't work out that way. And half to the ACLU. And you had Terrence Doherty, general counsel of the ACLU, talking about how much money they actually did get from Amber Heard. Let's take a listen.
Sitting here today, do you know how much money Ms. Heard has actually donated to the ACLU, actually remitted to the ACLU?
Yes, I do.
How much has Ms. Heard paid directly to the ACLU?
That would be $350,000 paid directly.
How much has been paid indirectly and credited to Ms. Heard?
There was $100,000, which was a check from Johnny Depp. There was a $500,000 payment from a donor-advised fund at Vanguard. And then there was a $350,000 payment that appears to be from a donor-advised fund at Fidelity, making it total $1.2 million.
Okay, it's 1.2. But I think some of that came from Elon Musk, which was the guy she was with after the split up with Johnny Depp. And then the jury knows all of this. Let's bring back in our think tank tonight. Renee Hill, Molly Palmer, Jonah Luzzi. Molly, again, it's about credibility. It's about, are you doing things for publicity? Are you doing what you say? Are you lying? What are your thoughts about the donation of the money?
Yeah, I think it really is a credibility issue. I mean, here's the other thing is that the jury is weighing this testimony and ultimately going to be tasked with finding damages and perhaps awarding a sum to either party. And so they're thinking about monetary sums. But beyond all of that, it's simply credibility, right? I mean, Amber Heard, we saw in that interview, in that clip you just played, I mean, it's terrible for somebody who is making accusations against Johnny Depp to be seen claiming to have paid $3 million when in fact they did not. It is just a black and white factual situation where she is, for lack of a better phrase, caught up in a lie. Not good.
Joan, how concerned would you be if you're on Heard's team? And again, the jury's hearing all of this, that, you're not coming through and paying all the money. Somebody else is paying the money. Johnny cut the check in her name, but he probably owed her the money from the divorce, so that's probably appropriate. But then, like, your new boyfriend, the richest man in the world, is paying for you as well?
Obviously, her financial situation changed from the time she promised the donation to the point where she then began to execute that donation. Obviously, shades of gray in that she could have willed that amount of money to them, or she could have agreed to pay over time that amount of money. However, it doesn't on its surface look good for her at all. And that's the whole purpose, right? The whole reason, obviously, this is not about the ACLU and how much money Amber Heard donated to them. This is about whether or not she's a liar. And so that's, it's just the plaintiffs really just trying to throw as much dirt on her as possible prior to her taking the stand. Can she overcome it? Maybe. If she comes off extremely genuine, hurt, and apologetic about it, she might be able to overcome it, but it's going to be tough for her.
Yeah, this is, if the purpose of Johnny Depp's lawsuit was something other than trying to get his name back, but was more about trying to bring her down, it's been successful so far. It's been successful. And I don't know if it raises him up. I don't know if he wins, but during the course of him presenting his evidence, she looks really bad. Let me play this for you, Renee. Here's Terrence Doherty again talking about that $500,000.
If you were asking specifically about the one that we received the $500,000 contribution from, we believe that that is a donor-advised fund that was set up by Elon Musk.
Who is Elon Musk?
He's a tech entrepreneur.
He's the richest man in the world. I mean, let's be honest, and the jury knows that now. I think they know that. This brings us to another issue, though, Renee, and I don't want this to come off sexist in any way. So I'm just predicating, anytime I have to say that, you're going to say something bad. But I'm not really saying something bad, because it's part of the testimony in the case from one of the witnesses talking to Amber about, well, maybe you don't date such high-profile men or rich men. I mean, how does a jury of 20-something men look at a woman who dates Johnny Depp, the highest paid actor in the world, and then once she breaks up with him, is then spending time with someone that she really doesn't like, and the testimony came out about that, who happens to be the richest man in the world? What does that do to her credibility?
Again, it sinks her credibility that much lower. They're going to look at her as a gold digger. She's chasing the money.
She said it, I didn't, okay? I have it written here. I was like, how do I say it without saying it? Go ahead. Thank you, Renee.
But, you know, it is what it is. That's what it appears to be, right? You know, she's going from one to the next. Multi-million-dollar people. And she's got him setting up a fund or making payments towards a donation that she was supposed to handle, a donation that she says in an interview was already made. And now we're finding out that she didn't make that donation. That doesn't look good for her at all. And it really, really does destroy her credibility. And I think that the jurors are going to be looking at that, because at the end of the day, they have to, it is a he said, she said situation. And they're going to have to decide who they believe. And in making that determination, they're going to look at who they like, how they appeared before them, and everything that they learned about them. And yes, they're going to hear bad things about Johnny. They already have. But he doesn't necessarily look like a liar right now. And she does. And of course, her case is coming. We have to see what she's going to put forward. But she's starting at a disadvantage, in my opinion. You know, they were both, when the trial first started, they were both on even keel. It was an even slate. And Johnny's case is going forward. But he's had some bad days, and he's had a lot of good days. Now she's coming. But I think that she's got an uphill battle, because she has to explain a lot of things that they have brought out in Johnny's case.
And again, folks, I don't want anyone taking what we do on this show or this conversation out of context, because you know people do. They hear a little bit of something. We are not individually judging her. What we are doing is taking a look at what's happening in the courtroom, what the testimony is, how it could impact the jury, and how it could impact the verdict in this case, and could impact public opinion. And these are real issues coming out through the testimony, not me being catty about Amber Heard and who she's dating. It's evidence in the case that the jury's considering. Okay, do you think people are still going to take it out of context, Molly? No. Oh, here's my question, Molly.
Yes, 100%.
Here's my question. So, you know, this is like the ultimate he said, she said. There's a lot of evidence circling around here. How much ultimately do you think weight goes to just what Johnny says and what Amber says versus all of the other evidence in the case?
You know, what I think has been so fascinating about this is that it really is a he said, she said situation. And we have really fascinating witnesses and a lot of interesting evidence. But what shocks me the most is not even what's coming out in that courtroom. It's this crowd that Court TV has been covering outside of the courthouse. And I wonder if it's not so much due process and witnesses and evidence as much as it is an emphatic fan base that is going to really move the needle here, right? I am overwhelmed by Johnny Depp's fans and just the fervor with which everybody on the internet is Team Johnny. That, to me, maybe is overriding all of the witnesses, as incredible as they have been, as engaging and interesting as they have been, that to me is what might actually carry the day for Johnny Depp.
All right. Renee Hill, Molly Palmer, Jonah Luzzi staying with us. When we come back, we've got more from inside the courtroom, more of the testimony today. Plus, we'll take a look at another big trial that we are tracking. Jury selection has just begun. It's a case many years in the making, and if you listen to podcasts, you know all about it. A guy named Ryan Duke, accused of murdering a beauty pageant queen named Tara Grinstead down in South Georgia.
As time went on, did you have an opportunity to observe how Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard interacted with each other?
At the beginning, lovey-dovey, everything was great. The honeymoon period was on, and it was, it was good. I mean, it was great to see Johnny happy again. Amber was, lovely, charming, as she usually is, good as gold. And then things started to change. Amber started to change. Amber started getting a bit, I would say, a bit more feisty, demanding, I could see that Amber wanted to wear the pants in this relationship. That was pretty obvious.
And what in particular made you think that you observed personally?
Just the way, if something wasn't quite right, or Amber could get a bit frosty at the drop of a hat. So as time went on, I could see them change. I could see Amber change. I could see Johnny getting quieter. We get into the car and nobody was speaking. And, just things started changing. Amber started getting a bit more grumpy, which I'll say.
And I think he was using the word grumpy in a different way than Johnny Depp used the word grumpy when he was testifying. Wow. That was Johnny Depp's bodyguard testifying today. We're going to have more from inside that courtroom. But right now, I want to tell you about another big trial that we are tracking here on Court TV. Been tracking it for quite some time. It's out of South Georgia. Chanley Painter has the story of beauty queen Tara Grinstead.
High school teacher Tara Faye Grinstead vanished from her Georgia home in October of 2005.
The scene in Tara's house was ambiguous to us. We did not know if a struggle had occurred there or not.
The popular educator, also a former beauty pageant contestant, lived alone in the town of Osceola, about 200 miles south of Atlanta. Her disappearance alarmed friends and baffled investigators.
We needed more information because we had a situation in which many people had been in the residence that day, and also several persons had been in the residence before law enforcement arrived.
The search for clues into Tara Grinstead's whereabouts would last for more than a decade. A billboard with her photo and tip line number loomed for years in the area, along with hopes she would be found. Hundreds of people were interviewed, but leads dried up and the case went cold.
You're convinced you will find her?
I am convinced we will, one way or the other. Then in February 2017, more than 10 years after the 30-year-old disappeared, police arrested Ryan Duke and charged him with burglary, aggravated assault, murder, and concealment of a body. Not long after Ryan's arrest, police brought charges against his friend, Bo Dukes. The two were former students at the high school where Grinstead taught. They were part of the graduating class of 2002. Their names were similar but spelled differently. It was more than their names that bonded them together. Ryan and Bo shared a secret, and Bo kept that secret for years until he told it to Ryan's brother at a party.
He said that he knew who had killed Tara Grinstead, and I said, who? And he said, your brother.
That is Stephen Duke, Ryan's brother, testifying at the trial of Bo Dukes in 2019.
I asked him, kind of shocked, what do you mean? And he said, your brother killed her. I said, are you serious? He said, no, I'm just playing. Don't tell anybody.
But Bo wasn't joking when he confessed to investigators that Ryan allegedly told him he broke into Grinstead's home to rob her for drug money, but ended up strangling her. Grinstead's body has never been recovered, but Bo's confession helped crack the case. Bo said he helped Ryan move Grinstead's body from a large pecan orchard where Duke had dumped the body to a nearby pine grove. Bo then assisted Ryan in burning the body. Bo was convicted for his role in the crime. The jury found him guilty of concealing Grinstead's death and lying to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. He was sentenced to serve 25 years in prison.
It's not clear if he will turn state's evidence against his friend Ryan when he's tried for Grinstead's murder. Ryan has pled not guilty and maintains his innocence.
Georgia versus Ryan Duke, trial date May 2nd. That's when the jury selection begins. Motion hearings going on this week, getting ready for that. So big case that we're tracking on Court TV. May take a few weeks to get a jury in that one. Okay, when we come back, folks, time to hear from you, our 13th juror. And our question tonight involves Elon Musk, the world's richest man, the man who just bought Twitter. My question is, why doesn't he want to testify in this case? He's on the witness list in the middle of everything and does not want to testify, will not testify. Your verdict next.
Now, is it also your understanding that Elon Musk made the $500,000 payment towards Amber Heard's $3.5 million pledge?
Yes, we don't know that with absolute certainty, but that is our organization's understanding.
Okay. And you credited it towards Ms. Heard's pledge, correct?
Yes.
Does it matter to the ACLU where it comes from if it's tagged and said it's as part of this person's pledge?
We're always happy to receive funds from donors, and if a donor is unable to make a contribution of an amount that they said they intended to make, if they're able to have someone else make a contribution to the organization, that's completely fine by us.
Now, we saw a document that Mr. Chu showed you a short while ago that indicated that Elon Musk made some other significant contributions, including $1 million and $5 million that were separate and apart from the $500,000, correct? Is that correct?
Do you know whether or not Ms. Heard ever had a relationship with Mr. Elon Musk?
Yes.
She did?
Yes.
So again, it's dated August of 2017. And she says, dealing with breakup, I hate when things go public. See, I'm so sad. Having reviewed the document again, do you have an understanding of what she's referencing there?
I believe she's referring to breaking up with Elon.
You say, seems like a press release. You weren't in love with him, and you told me 1,000 times you were just filling space. What are you saying there?
I'm saying, why would you be sad if you weren't in love with him to begin with?
Just filling space. Well, she could have filled that space in outer space with Elon Musk, right? Oh, my goodness. All right. So I asked you on social media today, why don't you think Elon Musk wanted to testify? And I asked you on Facebook, like I always do, but I also asked you on Twitter. Our 13th juror comment of the day comes from Joel on Twitter. I believe his testimony would have been devastating towards Ms. Heard's case. I also believe it to be self-preservation. Why would he willingly throw his name into to race any further than it already is? To race any further. Jonah Luzzi, why don't you think Elon Musk wanted a piece of this trial?
Listen, there's only two reasons why he's not testifying. Either number one is that he's not going to help her and would probably hurt her. Or number two, he really just didn't want to do it. You know, it's bad timing for him. It's a sideshow for him based upon what's happened on Twitter. Or how is it relevant, really? Even if she said, Johnny Depp abused me at some point, her credibility is obviously an issue, and she could have told him anything. How does it really move the ball forward? And it may be that she started seeing Elon at the same time that she was with Johnny, and that would really throw things into a further tailspin.
Yeah, that would be a little problematic. There were some reports that he was potentially at the marital penthouse prior to the breakup. Suzanne tonight, he could care less about her drama. I have utmost respect for him now. She is unreliable and not trustworthy. Renee Hill, what do you think it would have been like at this moment, especially since he's in these headlines. You look at the headlines on what's trending. It's Johnny Depp, it's Amber Heard, and it's Elon Musk. What if he had walked into that courtroom? What do you think that would have been like?
The star power doesn't get any higher than that, right? This guy is the richest man in the world. The jurors probably would have been on the edge of their seats, hanging on every word that he had to say. And I'm sure he didn't want to come into this courtroom. Look at all the dirt that's coming out, not only about Amber and Johnny, but about the people that they hang around with. They're friends. There's a lot of talk about drug use and how they partied and the people around them partied. And if he's a part of that circle as well, and he parties like they do, he doesn't want that out there right now, especially now with all that's going on with him. So he's got every reason not to come in and testify on her behalf. And like Joan said, he probably didn't have anything good to say, and anything that he would have testified to for Amber would have hurt her.
Yeah, imagine him testifying for her after hearing the testimony that we just heard about that, she was only with you to fill a little bit of space. Lisa tonight, Elon Musk doesn't want to testify because he still has feelings for his girl, Amber Heard. He doesn't want to make her look stupid or help Johnny Depp, and that's an ego thing. Molly, do you think if Amber picked up the phone, Elon, do you think if they really asked and said, listen, we really need you to testify, do you think he would have testified?
Well, let me tell you what I love the most about this, Vinny, is that you can be the richest man in the world. Let me tell you about the power of a woman. You can be the richest man in the world, but to a lady that you desire, you can still just be filling space. So, you know, yeah, I think he would pick up the phone. That's the power we have, my friend. That's what it's like to be a lady.
Tracy, tonight, the trial is a smear campaign between the two of them, and the dude doesn't want no part of it. He probably wished he had not gotten involved with her to begin with. Joe, and that's the other part of it, right? If you end up testifying in the middle of all of this, you become a part of what's taking place. And this trial purposely brought by Johnny Depp to bring out all of this stuff.
Well, sure. You know, Elon's probably worried about his own reputation. This is a car accident. This is a car wreck. And people can't divert their eyes, but no good is coming from this entire situation. This entire situation is a public display of sadness and dysfunction. Lucky for them, they had no children. They had enough money to part ways without being out on the street, and that they didn't actually, kill each other at one point. There was a toxic relationship. Why would Elon, not being with her anymore, owe her the duty to come in there and try to raise up her reputation while destroying his own in the middle of a point in time when the entire country is looking to him to be a solid person?
Well stated. And Anissa tonight, I have a feeling it's because he knows if he has to tell the truth, it will help Depp and show a pattern with her that will prove she is lying, and he doesn't want to be on her bad side. She's already been able to cancel Depp without any evidence or proof. Why couldn't she do it to him? Oh, wow. Wow. All right, on that note, Renee Hill, Molly Palmer, Jonah Luzzi, great to have you here tonight. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable. We appreciate it every time you come on the show.
Thank you.
All right, folks, when we come back, we've got a little bit of business to take care of. I need your help, okay? So when we come back, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. It's a small one, but it's actually a pretty big one. That's next.